Okay, it's 3 o'clock. We're going to get started. Was the meeting posted?
Yes.
First on the agenda.
Commission will now take up matters to do with applications for special one-day licenses for alcohol beverages, starting with wine only. Victoria B. Woodley of the Pollard Memorial Library for Tuesday, February 2nd, 2010, from 5:30 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. The event is the meeting of fundraiser arms and trustees of the Pollard Memorial Library to be at the Memorial Hall of the library at 401 Merrimack Street. Mr. Chairman, this is an event that's on city property, and by city ordinance requires that a alcohol license be approved by the License Commission in order for there to be any service. From my I understand there'll be no sale of alcohol. It would just be possibly a wine toast. But in any event, the commission would want to entertain a motion to waive the license fee on this matter. The matter also is an application for malt beverages and wine only for Krista Serkritis of the Lowell Catholic High School for Thursday, February 4th, 2010, from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. The event is for the Zavarian Brothers sponsored schools, an event to be held at the Lowell Catholic High School Auditorium at 530 Stevens Street. For beer and wine only, Thomas McKay of Backstage Concessions for an event at Arcan Drive. It will be in a tent known to be the Club Celsius, the Nordic nightclub. There'll be two dates, Friday, February 5th, 2010, from 6 p.m. to 12:30 a.m., and Saturday, February 6th, 2010, from 12 noon to 12:30 a.m. I guess it's known as the Winterfest 2010. Also, for malt beverages and wine only, Chris Arnott of the Lowell Humane Society for Saturday, February 27, 2010, from 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. The event is the Hot Dog Fashion Show at the Western Avenue Studios at 122 Western Avenue. Also, all alcoholic beverages, Thomas McKay of the Backstage Concessions, Lowell 5, 1 Merrimack Plaza. This will be a tent known to be the Club Fahrenheit, a sponsors tent, for Saturday, February 6, 2010, from 6 p.m. to 12:30 a.m. This would be in conjunction with the Winterfest. There is a communication on file from Robert A. Caruso, who is the chairman of Lowell 5, dated January 12th, in which Lowell 5 supports the application for the special one-day license for February 6th by Backstage Concessions, authorizes the use of the parking lot at 1 Merrimack Plaza for sponsor reception, and has on file a certificate of liability insurance. Also, for all alcoholic beverages, Leo Silva of the Holy Ghost Society for events at Holy Ghost Park at 65 Village Street. There will be a Sweet 16 event for Saturday, January 23rd, 2010, from 6 p.m. to 12 midnight. A Mardi Gras event for Saturday, February 13th, from 2 p.m. to 2 a.m. Also, the Mardi Gras event will be for Sunday, February 14th, from 12 noon to 12 midnight. And last is a wedding shower for Saturday, February 20th, 2010, from 3 p.m. to 1 a.m.
Okay, if you'd be kind enough to step up to the mic and introduce yourself for the record.
My name is Victoria Woodley. I'm the director at Pollard Library.
Okay, next. We're going to do all of you at once.
Hi, Krista Sequenzis from Lowell Catholic High School.
Okay?
Carlene McDonald, the Lowell Auditorium.
Okay?
Chris Arnott from the Lowell Humane Society.
Okay?
Leo Silva, Director for Holy Ghost Society in Lowell.
All righty. How many of you have been before us before? Okay? We have one that hasn't been before us, so we're going to give you a quick refresher course. This is your license. This is not the library's license. This is not the City of Lowell license. This is your name is on this license. Okay? Your name. It's your license. Each and every one of you must remember that. This is your license. Not the Humane Society, not Lowell Catholic, not the auditorium, not Holy Ghost. You are responsible. You are responsible for everything that happens. When something goes wrong, they're going to come and find you. My suggestion to you is that whether you're having a giveaway, wine tasting, or selling or whatever, make sure, the people that you put behind there, you are entrusting them. You are entrusting them with your reputation and many times with your livelihood. Because believe it or not, they're representing you. It's just the same as if you were standing there making the drinks and everything yourself. You must understand that. So if something starts to go wrong or you don't like the way things are being done, you simply say, look, it's my license. I'm taking my license. And, you know, you ever heard the expression, I'm going to take my bat and go home? Well, I'm going to take my license and get out of here, close the bar. I always tell people, number one is we have an ordinance in the city of Lowell. So any kind of a disturbance whatsoever, any kind of a disturbance. Now, you know, people think that these things can get, you know, I don't want to call because I'm going to get in trouble. You are not going to get in trouble if you call up and ask the policeman to come over. Somebody's having an argument. Stop it before it progresses any further. They are not going to chastise you or get you in trouble because you picked up the telephone. That's what they want. They want you to call them in advance. They want you to call them over there before somebody decides to go out and get that baseball bat or worse, a gun, and come back and solve the problem. And unfortunately, that's the way people look at it today. So you have to be that much more observant. When we know, sitting here, the three of us, we admire what you're doing because we know that it's because of people like yourselves and many others in the community who step forward, who step up to the plate, that raise money for various events and promote the library and the Humane Society and the schools and the Holy Ghost Park. You know, we need people like you in the community. We do. Lowell would be an awful dull place. Or the auditorium, excuse me. Okay, but Lowell would be an awful dull place if we didn't have people like yourselves. So we say this to you not to scare you, but to tell you that you're in control. I don't care who the chairman is. I don't care if the city manager's the chairman. You're the boss. It's your license. You say, it's my license. I'll see you later. I want a policeman to come and close this down because this isn't going to happen. Any questions whatsoever about that? That's the one thing that we want to make absolutely sure you understand. Any questions about anything? Yes?
Paper I received said that if I was going to purchase wine, it could not be at a package store. So if I ask a caterer to do this, is that okay?
Yep, but you're still responsible. You have to keep your eye on the caterer. I mean, if he's gonna, you know, you hired a caterer to do the thing, which is kind of good, because a lot of caterers have licensed, you know, have people that go to bartender school and whatnot, and that type of thing is all right. But bottom line, it's like people being manager of a bar room. They don't understand that. They could be down in Florida for 2 weeks, laying on the beach, sucking up the rays, where we all would like to be. But guess what? They're still responsible. So they better hope they left somebody back here that they can trust. Because believe it or not, even though they're in Florida or on a vacation, they're still responsible, okay?
I have no objection. The only thing I saw was there's gonna be a wedding shower for 10 hours. It just seems like a long time for a wedding shower, but,
Well, the groom wants to be there and the bride earlier, so we just, in case, you know.
that's all right. No, 10 hours is a long time, but I have no problem.
Yeah, no, I'll make the motion to go ahead and first approve the waiver of the fee for the Pollard Library.
Second that.
Motion to waive the fee for the Pollard Library. Motion made and seconded. All in favor, say yes.
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 And I'll make a motion to approve the licenses as requested.
Motion
Second.
seconded. Motion made and seconded for the approve the licenses. All in favor, say yes.
Yes.
Yes. Good luck. Hope you all make $1 million. I hope we don't see you back yet. Yeah.
And if the library makes $1 million, that's good news.
Commission will now take up applications for public amusement events. For events at the Lowell Memorial Auditorium, Thomas McKay, Mill City Management, Inc. Applicant, Colleen McDonald's representative. Starting with the concert, Phil Vassar, for Thursday, February 11th. Show will have 2 nights, starting with a show called Stomp, for Tuesday, February 23rd, and Wednesday, February 24th. There is a concert at the Chieftains for March the 11th. Also a show Grand Cirque for March 19th. Extreme Championship Fight League is for March 26th. Super Scientific Circus is for March 30th. Girls Night Out, April 16th. Concert Tony Orlando for April 17th. One Night with Queen is a concert for May 6th. And Daniel O'Donnell for a concert May 26th.
Introduce yourself for the record.
Carleen McDonald.
Tony Orlando, yeah, he's still alive.
Right up your alley, Commissioner Bailey.
Yeah, I know who he is, okay? Yeah, really, don't start, okay?
I'll make a motion to
Whoa. What about this extreme, is this one of these where they don't wear gloves and they really,
Yes.
you know,
Sweet.
do you people make, I don't know anything about this. This is the first time. Have you ever had that before?
No.
No. Okay. Do these people set up an insurance plan or something to?
Yes, they're
I mean-
renting the building and they have to provide insurance.
Okay. And I mean, these things really get.
No, we have our own security and we'll get extra police.
Okay, I really would, I mean, I've seen it on television, you see it in Vegas and whatnot, and I mean, I'm wondering, you're gonna be mixing drinks with, extremely violent fighting, extremely violent. I mean, the fighters aren't gonna be drinking, but the people watching, and sometimes people tend to get carried away. I think that's gonna be I think it's great that you can bring something of that national level to Lowell. Don't get me wrong, I'm not against it, it's just, it's a new thing, and I'm sure that you're gonna take that into consideration
Oh, we
when
will.
you're planning for it, okay? All right. Because tell McKay we'll put him in the ring if something goes wrong. He'd look good in a pair of shorts jumping around. Anybody got anything you'd like to ask?
No, not after that image.
What size trunks he wears?
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second it. All in favor, say yes.
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 Thank you.
Commission will now take up an application for a special event permit for sound amplification. Christopher Samaras of the City of Lowell for Winterfest 2010. For location on Arcan Drive, an enclosed tent for bands for the loudspeaker system, outdoor sled track. This will be Friday, February 5th from 6 p.m. to 12 midnight, and Saturday, February 6th from 12 noon to 12 a.m. Also, for the Lowell 5-cent parking lot, 1 Merrimack Plaza, an enclosed tent for bands, loudspeaker system for Saturday, February 6th, 2010, from 6 p.m. to 12 midnight.
Introduce yourself for the record.
Chris Samara, City of Lowell, Special Events Office.
Okay. Chris, I know you've been before us before, and we, Captain Webb, we have really never had any problems with Winterfest, have we?
No.
No. Have you used the Lowell 5 parking lot before?
Yes, actually, I think this is the third or fourth year.
Yeah, I'm just thinking of the noise,
Actually, we're going to end at 10 o'clock this year.
oh, okay. Well, then there's nothing wrong with that. That's more than us old people, we gotta sleep, Any questions?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Motion made and
Second.
seconded, all in favor, say yes.
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 All right,
We're
thank
all
you.
set.
Thank you, guys.
Commission will now open a hearing on an application for a malt beverages and wine only package goods store license by Amal Fuel Inc., doing business as Drum Hill Golf. Richard L. Khoury, President, for a malt beverage and wine only package goods store license for premises at 1299 Westford Street, one unnumbered door side, one room for retail, storage approximately 960 square feet. It is requested that Richard L. Khoury be approved as the manager of record for Amal Fuel Inc.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission. Eileen Donahue from Gallagher and Kavanaugh, representing the petitioner, Mr. El Khoury, who is the president, secretary, and sole shareholder of Amal Fuel Inc. This application has to do with 1299 Westford Street in the city of Lowell. The enterprise is actually a gas station with a convenience market located on the property. Mr. El Khoury is asking the city, and we've made the application before you this afternoon, for a beer and wine license at that establishment. We provided, I believe, the information as requested under the statute and certainly by the commission in terms of the application, the appropriate corporate information, certifications, articles of organization, the plan that sets forth the location of the beer, wine, and storage at the convenience mart. And so we're here this afternoon asking approval from this licensing authority. I would want to point out to the commission, I was handed this afternoon from Attorney Hausler an opposition that I've had a chance to look at quickly. Mr. Attorney Hausler is representing Drumhill Liquors in the town of Chelmsford, located across the Westford Street, and is objecting. And I would, I can address it now, or I can come back and respond to issues raised by Attorney Hausler. But suffice it to say that we did examine the appropriate venue to apply for this license. Indeed, licensing authority is vested in one licensing authority. There's not co-licenses, town/city licenses, by way of, in terms of a precedent where part of the property may be located in one jurisdiction versus another. There is no precedent as to which choice of venue, but I would point out to this commission that there is an existing license, and that's what we looked at, and that is the cigarette license through the Board of Health. And that was issued from the city of Lowell for this property. So I will reserve, come and ask, certainly Mr. El Khoury is here to answer any questions.
Okay, why don't we open, see if anybody to speak for and against, Counselor, and then we can address the
Thank you.
concerns. Okay, let's start with anybody wants to speak in favor, in favor, in favor. That portion of the hearing's closed. Anyone want to speak in opposition?
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman and members of the Commission. Douglas Hausler, representing Phyllis Jarvis and Drumhill Liquors. You have the opposition that we also provided Attorney Donahue with.
Let me start with the first question. Are the people speaking that you're speaking on behalf of residents of the city of Lowell?
No, they are not.
Are they property owners in the city of Lowell?
No, they are not.
Business owners in the city of Lowell with a direct interest in this?
My client has informed me that we were authorized to represent her and her corporation, and that she had spoken with the people in Lowell at Wood Street on the plaza, who I believe is here, and I think I was authorized to say that I technically represented their joint interest. They didn't want to file independent oppositions.
All right, just for the record, I'm gonna make a motion that we recognize a previous ruling from the law department that non-residents, non-business owners in the city of Lowell don't have standing to bring an opposition. But if we have a party that you are speaking on behalf of, you'll only speak on their behalf and nobody else's.
Finally, sir.
Good afternoon. My name is James Lucia. I live at 9 Calvin Street in Lowell. I'm representing the Chivers Corporation, doing business as Powers Liquors, 23 Wood Street in Lowell. I am the night manager. I've worked at Powers Liquors since 1973, working for a partnership of Robert Durkee and George Armstrong. Later for George Armstrong as the sole proprietor, and I am the night manager for the Jay Patel, owner of Powers Liquors, Chivers Corporation, doing business as Powers Liquors since 2003. I'm here today to urge you not to allow the beer and wine license at the mobile gas station at Drumhill Road, Middlesex Street there, along with our store at Drumhill Liquors, which is within eyesight of the proposed license holder. This area, Lowell and Chelmsford, will be saturated with the sale of alcoholic beverages. Just like Drumhill Liquors, there is always at least 2 people working at Powers Liquors all the time. There's always an owner, manager, or night manager present. Powers has been in business since 1966, and despite our best efforts, years of experience, And occasionally, there's been a phony license going through Powers Liquors, and we apologize for that, and unknowingly sold to minors. But I do see a problem such as this just waiting to happen at the gas station, understaffed, doing other business, and still trying to sell alcoholic beverages. It appears that there's no storage facility or protocol to handle returns, which under state law, they were obligated to comply during all business hours. I question how they're going to separate the gasoline business from the alcoholic business area, what training their staff will be required to complete, like tips, for example. What owner or manager will always be present on the premises. Its location to a McDonald's family restaurant, in my opinion, is the worst possible location for the sale of alcoholic beverages. All of these circumstances and questions should lead to the board denying the beer and alcohol license. Thank you.
Thank you.
And I'll make a motion to waive the rule that prevents non-residents from speaking, as
Yeah.
this property is.
All right, I'll second it.
I'll second it. All in favor, say yes. It's yes, 3.
I'd like to amend a response that I gave to you, which is, in fact, the owner of the real estate at Drumhill Liquors, which is, in fact, in Lowell and in Chelmsford, is owned by my client. So therefore, we would have independent standing apart from your waiver, which I greatly appreciate and believe is courteous. I don't want to repeat the 5 pages. I want to summarize the key points. First, there is a clear distinction between someone who's selling beer and wine as an ancillary product versus somebody that sells it as their primary source of a livelihood, and that has to come to deal with the punitive measure if they violate. If, and we're making this an if, or maybe a when, because it's bound to happen, there's a sale or a sale to an underage individual or an intoxicated person, the sanctions that are available to you are at some point fine, suspension, and revocation. The revocation effect to somebody who's in a convenience mart, gas station approach is of minimal consequence, and hence the punitive nature of any such sanction is going to be almost meaningless.
Counsel, let me interrupt you for a second.
Yes, Mr. Weicker.
So your argument then is that because one particular establishment chose to only sell alcoholic beverages, it should be afforded a market share protection as opposed to a diversified business?
No, I'm not arguing any type of
You're saying then that the consequence of an individual who elects to go with a single type of product is higher than somebody with a diversified floor plan, so therefore
That's
different
correct.
consideration should be given.
Absolutely true.
So you want us to give different consideration to a all-alcohol store as opposed to a beer and wine store?
That's true, because it's consistent with Massachusetts practice and precedent. For example, Massachusetts has already rejected the ballot question, which would have allowed wine and beer to be sold in supermarkets.
Well,
Commonwealth
that's
rejected
correct,
that.
but we also rejected that because it would have opened it up to every store, which would have exceeded the number of limited licenses available.
Potentially true, but the underlying, I'm just pointing out the facts of the policy issues behind this. This is not an anti-competitive mode. This is, from your perspective, a public safety mode. And if I was sitting as a commissioner, I would be considering concerns of safety first, public safety first. And one of those is making the availability of such products more difficult to obtain than less difficult to obtain. I think that's a common approach, both whether it's the city of Lowell or town of Chelmsford, as public policies. What I'd rather prefer to focus on is the direct issues that should be relevant. Need. There is no demonstrable need for a beer and wine license at this location. And that, I think, is, in fact, the critical criteria for you to consider. It's your discretion, and it is based on need. And given the fact there is already existing product available within literally 100 or so feet, and within a quarter of a mile in Lowell, both municipalities are served. There is no demonstration from the applicant that there is a need for yet another license of this nature. Item 2. I think out of due deference to a policy decision of the town of Chelmsford, this board should give some deference to that policy, which is, and I did speak with the Office of the Board of Selectmen, which is also known as the Town Manager's Office. Some view that as a discrepancy. I spoke with the licensing assistant, Mrs. Courier. She agreed, and she had done some research at my request, that there is no history of ever granting such a license in Chelmsford, and that there's a public policy that, no, not written, is in fact in place They have uniformly rejected any such applications within the town of Chelmsford. I suggest, given the particular facts of this situation, and I would not apply this across the board, but I would to this, where the property isn't just tangentially in Chelmsford, there's a good portion of it, and in fact, I believe on the floor plan, a good portion of the product itself is stored in the Chelmsford part of the premises. I think that that raises issues of what I call due process and fairness to both concerns of both municipality and town.
Are you authorized to speak on behalf of the town of Chelmsford?
I'm not
Are they
speaking-
lodging a objection?
Mr. Walker, I'm not speaking on behalf of the town of Chelmsford, I'm speaking on behalf of a client who's identifying common purposes, and I'm also representing to you my communications with the town of Chelmsford. Now, there happens to be a member of the Board of Selectmen here from Chelmsford, not here in that capacity, but could certainly stand up and say, well, that's not just not true. I don't think you'll hear that. And as an attorney, I would think that my representation to you should be sufficient.
I accept your representation.
Thank you.
I'm just asking whether you're speaking and lodging an objection on behalf of the town of Chelmsford.
I don't have such standing. I represent private parties. You know, I raised the issue, and I agree completely with Attorney Donahue. There is no clear precedent of where does the applicant go? Does it go to Chelmsford? Does it go to Lowell? She cites the tobacco health regulation, and I in turn cite the planning boards. When that property was being developed, it went before both boards. And rightfully, because there are considerations to each town and each city. I would say the same thing holds true here. When you're granting a privilege that has effects on both communities, I think there is some deference that should be given, at least to gather the input from the town of Chelmsford. I certainly don't want to be the one representing the town of Chelmsford, but I think it is incumbent upon the applicant to be able to represent to you as commissioners. We did go before Chelmsford, we did ask them their opinion, and the Board of Selectmen said yay, nay, or had these concerns. You don't have any of those materials before you.
Let me ask you, if we just assume that if this matter were brought before Chelmsford, it would be voted in the nay, how would you recommend we proceed at that point?
Well, I would recommend to you that it may very well be a deterrent to the applicant proceeding even before you, and may actually result in a withdrawal of the application so that they wouldn't have any history of prejudice, meaning a denial with prejudice. It may be that they would withdraw without action.
Let's not talk mays. Let's just assume for today that the town of Chelmsford has voted nay, just for the purposes of today.
Yes.
And go forward from there.
And the town voted nay and gave its concerns and stated them to you, and then the applicant came before you and said, the town of Chelmsford has indicated no. It is, but they're still requesting you to give the license.
Okay.
I'd hope that this commission would take some due reference and deference to the town of Chelmsford's public policy and say, we think that concern outweighs the need of the applicant, and that we would rather respect a town policy than the privilege, not the right, the privilege of a license. I think that is pretty much common sense, but that's up to you folks who make those decisions. Going further, strictly on the issue of underage sales, the type of enforcement issues here are going to be extremely difficult. You know, when people walk into a package store, and if they're 16 or 17, it's going to raise an issue of why are they there. If they're walking into a gas station, it's going to be very hard to understand. They could be there just paying for gasoline at their car. I think there is a certain enforcement likelihood. There's a certain awareness of the type of clients and customers that a liquor establishment with beer or wine gathers versus somebody who's a general public. And I think that's one of the reasons behind the rejection of the ballot question. People are concerned about unlawful sale of product. The other difference is package stores do engage in extensive training for the most part, and I've represented a number of them, and they all have usually written policies that talk about the offenses, what the ramifications are. Usually it's grounds for immediate termination of an employee. I don't necessarily know that any such policies have been proffered by the applicant saying, this is in fact what we have in place in the event that something like this happens. which would give the licensing commission a little bit more credibility for its decision. There is nothing before you that suggests that they've done that. And then, of course, the last argument besides accountability and responsibility, really, it gets down to what's the next step. At some point, I referenced it, the slippery slope. At some point, if the application is acted upon favorably to this particular applicant, there will be a request down the road for an all-alcoholic license. And this is just the first step in that baby process of going down that slope. So today it's just for beer and wine. A year from now, when they say, look at us, we've had 2 stings and nothing happened, we have a history. They're going to be in here looking to you to set a precedent of granting a gas station convenient mart with the right to sell all alcoholic beverages.
What if they come in?
Licenses are all gone in the city, the license.
Until one becomes available.
Or what if they come in 2 years and ask for a license to sell nuclear weapons? I mean, come on, we're already going in hypotheticals. I'm talking about today, not 2 years from today.
I don't think we have to go too far afoot to compare nuclear weapons to the chance of a license. Thank you.
All right. Let me just ask and follow. I mean, you made some reference to saying that the applicant hasn't demonstrated a need. Are you taking the legal position that the burden is on an applicant to show a need in a community?
Yes.
Or that it's within the discretion of this license commission to determine a need in the community?
I think they're the applicant, it's their burden of proof to come to you and demonstrate a need.
Well, then let me ask you, with respect to a need, do people sell products that aren't needed?
Market determines that.
Oh, okay. So you think that the market will determine need?
And there isn't any demonstrable need.
We don't know because we haven't tried the market yet, have we?
Yet we do, because there's,
I'm sorry,
we already
did
have
ATRI already
two.
sell?
No, the burden isn't on the existing. You see, you're switching the burden, which is inappropriate for a
I'm
variety of reasons.
asking you about it.
Well, Mr. Weicker, I'm not with the person who's looking for the license.
But you're telling me that the
But if I
market
was,
you're telling me the market determines the need, correct?
I'm saying that there are a number of things that determine whether or not a license should be granted. One of those factors is need. In connection with need, you have to address what is the availability of the product, generally speaking. There is no question that you can get the product within 200 feet.
Okay,
or
but
down
now
the
we're
road.
talking about protectionist, anti-capitalist views.
No, we're not. You're talking about it, no one else is.
Well, I'm raising because you said that it's available somewhere else, therefore nobody else should be allowed to compete.
No, that's not what I've said.
Okay, so you don't maintain the position that the availability in Chelmsford negates the market need.
I find it interesting that a commissioner is trying to put words in my mouth rather than accept input from the public, which is his job.
But you're not here on behalf of the public, you're on behalf of a specific client. So I'm
correct.
asking you're advancing legal arguments,
Are you
and I want to
advancing-
know your foundation for them.
Mr. Commissioner, are you advancing the interests of the applicant or for the city of Lowell? May I ask that?
Well, you're in here asking me to ignore the city of Lowell's authority in favor
No,
of
I'm
the
asking
city,
to
in
apply
favor
it-
of the town of Chelmsford. So I'm asking you the basis for all of your arguments.
I'm
If you don't want to give me a basis, I'm perfectly happy to just render a decision based on your inability to give a basis. If you don't want to give me a basis, please feel free to speak. You have the microphone.
Mr. Weicker, I think that quite frankly, I'm a little astonished at the approach you're taking, but I'll put that aside. This is not a personal issue, it's an issue. It's a discretionary standard by your board to either accept or reject an application, no more and no less. You seem apparently hell-bent on trying to get us locked into a position and to try to switch the burden of proof on a person who's opposing it. I suggest to you that that's inappropriate. I suggest to you that the appropriate standard is on the applicant to demonstrate to you and to the other members that there is a need, that it can meet all the public safety criteria of both the city of Lowell and the town of Chelmsford, that you give due deference to a public policy decision of the town of Chelmsford, as stated to the best of my ability to represent on public record of votes actually taken, and also in conjunction with statements directed to me by the the police department, the chief, Jim Murphy, who I spoke with yesterday, who said he is adamantly against any such issuances of these types of licenses. As a further note, I should suggest to you that it is important to both city and town that it is the town of Chelmsford that does come responding in the emergencies because of its physical proximity and because of an uninformal or informal agreement between the two chiefs to make sure that the public safety is done first. And if the two chiefs can agree that public safety comes first, I certainly think that should be a common enough factor for this board to say, we should seriously give weight to the public policy considerations of a town that has said very clearly and unequivocally, we don't like this approach. Simply because they came before you doesn't mean that there's no consequence to others. And we hope you factor that in to your determination. I think minimally, it is important for you to at least, if you're not going to deny it, just on the issues of what's been presented to you and the failure of the applicant to give you all of the required criteria, if you're not going to deny it on that basis, minimally, you should defer action, require the applicant to go to the Board of Selectmen in Chelmsford, ask for them to give their opinions or positions known so that you have input in your public record to accept or defend the decision that you make. And then if you're asked to make a ruling by this applicant with all that information before you, and the applicant at least having gone through the required steps, which I think are relevant to this decision, then at least you have some plausibility behind your decision. If you in fact just grant, I suggest to you quite strongly that it's only going to lead most likely to further administrative or litigation proceedings, which could be completely avoided or substantially reduced by having a full record before the commission before it takes action. And that's all. Full consideration of all the factors, not consideration of one and not others. Thank you.
And you're telling me that the burdens that you believe the applicant has are?
To demonstrate to you need, to demonstrate to you compliance with public safety, to demonstrate to you that they have policies in place to ensure that the sale is very clearly governed. I think it is up to this board to ask clearly what's the relevant portion of sales that are expected of this particular location, because I think it impacts your ability to police and supervise, because your sanctions are so limited: fine, suspension, or revocation.
You know, you bring that up, and I just want to interject. You've said that twice, and I can appreciate being here, and I can appreciate both sides of the issue on this.
Thank you.
And I find it totally amazing that the package store owners association, if there is one, or
There is.
somebody should start one up, has not gone to the legislature. That's been my argument from the very beginning, is I've always felt, even if there was a need to have it, a beer and wine license somewhere, it is not fair to have somebody who has a variety store, because if in fact they violate the law, you know, they can still earn a living, where the poor guy down the street, he violates, he's plumb out of luck. He's locked up and closed. And I can't understand why, you know, and we've had this argument amongst the commissioners.
Sure.
You're not arguing anything that we all haven't sat here and yelled at each other about. I mean, that's been one of my key things is, why do you allow this guy to still earn a living, and he's taking the two highest profit margin products out of the package store of some guy that's, you know, given his whole life to operating the store, and if he sells to a minor, well, he shuts down, okay? That's all I was going to say on that for right now. I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I can't understand why some attorney, and God knows we got enough of them,
Left to your right.
why some attorney can't get these guys organized and go before the legislature and say, look, we need a level playing field here. If they want to take on beer and wine, then it should be, if they get caught selling to a minor, their store is closed. You know, but anyways, that's my belief.
I think the answer to that is pretty simple. The Commonwealth of Massachusetts would be the laughingstock of the United States if it were ever to pass such a law. It would be thrown right out. It's unconstitutional to...
Are there any other questions, though, from the commissioners?
What's that?
Were there any other commission questions?
I'm
Thank
sorry.
you. I just want to know if there were any other questions from the commissioners.
You got it. Okay, you got anything, Bernie?
Not for Attorney Hauser at this moment.
I wanted to know, one of my questions I wrote, you say the Chelmsford Police, where did you get the diagram that shows where they're gonna keep the beer and wine and?
I think it's based
They
on
made that up,
their
okay.
submittals plus our
right.
submittals collectively, if you interpret.
Okay. You know, this one really okay, the Chelmsford Police respond.
I will tell you,
They have a gentleman's agreement.
yes, sir.
Do you have anything in writing to that effect?
I asked Chief Murphy of Chelmsford that
Mr.
yesterday.
Webb,
He's-
is that your understanding?
I don't have any knowledge of any such agreement between the two chiefs. There may be. I can say that in the event where there is a call on a border area between two towns, it is common practice for us to call the other town and ask if they're in a position to respond before we could. So that would not be unusual, but I can't say that I know of any such agreement.
But that would have to be in accordance with our laws on extraterritorial actions by police officers outside of their municipality. It would have to be in response to a crime in progress that they were eyewitnesses to, correct?
It would be a response to a request for mutual aid.
Mutual.
But if it was a request to take a report of a past event, the Chelmsford Police would have no authority to act within the city of Lowell. It would be illegal, as a matter of fact, subjecting them to being civilly liable for, acting outside of their jurisdiction.
I would think that in the event of a past event, the request probably would not be made.
Where the jurisdiction would be, I think it would be dual jurisdiction, quite frankly, under these circumstances.
So what you're gonna say, if they're going to rob the store and they go out the front door, you call.
Yeah, if they go to the left, you call Lowell, and you go to the
back,
right,
you call the Chelmsford. No.
That's the logic
We
of
need to
that.
get that resolved before we get anything resolved. Is
I mean, that's a question for the
where is that
legislature.
liability? Where is the responsibility for? I can just see a myriad of unbelievable problems with this thing.
That was
Who's going to police it to make sure that I don't know if the chief wants to get a hold of the chief. I don't know really what's the best way to do this.
Mr. Chairman, I asked a hypothetical to the Chief Murphy of Chelmsford that is right on point to what you're raising. Let's presume a minor goes in, attempts to, and is successful in buying beer or wine, goes out of the store, puts it in the car, drives down Drum Hill towards Parkhurst Road, towards Chelmsford, gets pulled over for speeding. The officer in Chelmsford notices a minor in possession of alcohol. Under that scenario, what has to happen, if this is permitted, is Chelmsford can only prosecute at that point in time the minor who's in possession, and for it to bring criminal action against the store owner for the sale, has to refer it over to the city of Lowell.
That is 100% correct. The same way as if it were purchased in Pepperell and driven into Lowell.
I agree with you.
The prosecution for the sale would happen in Pepperell, which would bring it to the Air District
What would
Court.
happen if he called?
Fortunately,
Let me
the
ask you a question.
Chelmsford and the Lowell police both bring it into the Lowell District Court, and the police prosecutors work in the same office inside the same building, so it's reasonably easy to do.
Well, it creates and that's not according to Chief Murphy that it's, quote, easy to do. In fact, he viewed it and quoted it as an administrative nightmare because it diverges. You have two different prosecutions from two different offices.
Actually, they're both done through the same Middlesex District Attorney's Office.
I understand that, but it's done through the different offices of the Chelmsford Police Prosecutor and the Lowell Police Prosecutor.
Okay, you were
individuals.
talking about, okay, tell me, somebody goes into his store and he knows he's a minor, so he's got the guy at the counter and he's calls the police, most of the time there's a cruiser sitting right outside the store. I think probably 9 out of 10 times that you go up there, his store, then there's McDonald's.
That's correct.
And then there's that little mini, there's like a 4 or 5 store, little tiny mall before the big mall. And in that driveway, normally, there's a police cruiser sitting there, probably, literally 4 out of 5 times you'll go by. And when the traffic's heavy up there, there's usually a cruiser. And my question there is, does he arrest the people in Lowell that are going in the store under a low license? In other words, Captain Webb will tell you, we recently had an instance where the police officers actually sat in their car and watched some people go into a package store, buy, come out with some bottles and in bags and stuff, and get in the car. They and I'm sure that, it can happen. I'm not going to say this is going to happen, but let's say it does. If the Chelmsford Police goes in there and arrests him, does he get off because he said you got him right to how does that work?
It creates a great opportunity for a defense or a criminal defense lawyer to come up with a theory to perhaps get a district judge's ear. But I'm saying, why get to that possibility when the easiest answer is to say no?
Okay, one other question before, then we'll go on to the thing. The people that he leases the land that building's on?
Yes.
He does. Okay, and the people that he leases the land from?
Are you referring to the applicant?
Yes, the applicant.
I believe it's a lease. I would presume it's with Cumberland
Okay.
Farms
And
or
are
some
they aware of
entity.
the fact, do they get any consideration in this?
I have to defer to counsel.
Okay.
And counsel, let me ask you one other question. With respect to the sale of cigarettes to a minor,
Yes.
should we also revoke that license as well? Are you petitioning because somebody could buy cigarettes underage and drive into Chelmsford?
I haven't been asked that, but if
I mean,
asked,
cigarettes, we know, if used as directed, will result in death. It's a guarantee.
I didn't come prepared to argue the tobacco argument today, but if someone retains me to present that argument, I think it would probably be a good idea that that type of product should be similarly governed, and that since it, again, straddles both lines, the Board of Healths of both entities who are affected, largely affected, not tangentially affected, largely affected because of their proximity, should be conferred before such licenses
And
are
let me
issued.
ask you, I know you're arguing the policy issue, but what is the law on that with respect to whether or not they're required to be consulted?
There is no law.
Okay, so there is no law requiring?
We're in agreement, I believe, entirely that there's no one set precedent on approval or disapproval of a liquor license for an establishment that crosses borders.
Okay, and I'm asking with respect to licenses granted for any object, what is the law with respect to who grants?
No one knows. And that's exactly my point, which is you are being asked to apply your reasonable discretion, and not as to a right, but as to a privilege. So in balancing those factors, I'm suggesting on behalf of my client that you should defer to the side of caution and
cede our authority to Chelmsford.
No, to exercise your own authority and recognize the public goals of another community, which are largely in common with your own, no more and no less. Thank you.
Okay.
I guess just a question I would ask. I know that in the city of Lowell, Long Meadow Golf Club has a street address of 165 Havilah Street in Lowell, but we don't have anything to do with their license. So that would be a entity within the city that, obviously straddles the line with their street address being one thing and the license being somewhere else. I was just wondering how our law department, whether we got notice from the town of Tewksbury or what, when that license came up. I know it was probably a long time ago, but it seems like there could be some sort of precedent.
It sounds like it has
Do you
actually
have
already been addressed.
Is it by any chance when they did the cigarettes, and I think Ray got a good point, when they did the cigarettes, did by any chance the town of Chelmsford get notified? Did they just went ahead and did it?
I believe so. I don't
Okay.
think there was any written notification. I haven't independently verified that. I can call the Board of Health and give you a supplemental response,
No, that's okay.
if you'd like.
Thank you. If I could just respond to a couple of the points that Attorney Hausler has raised here. First of all, the suggestion that this matter should be sent to Chelmsford when Attorney Hausler has already explained that Chelmsford has a policy against these licenses. It doesn't matter whether there's a need, whether there's a public safety issue, whether or not the applicant is fit. Those are the matters that fall within the clear discretion of this commission. And to send it to Chelmsford to simply be denied, I understand he's representing a liquor store owner in the vicinity and wants to shut any competition down. But I would suggest, with due respect, those are not the considerations under the statute. And let me, again, go back to what I had brought out at the outset. We did look at this. This is a situation where there's a building. The building is in Lowell. There were 2 pumps in Chelmsford. I didn't represent the applicant at the time of the cigarette license, but my understanding was that the purpose and reason that the application was made in the city of Lowell is because the building and where the cigarettes are is in Lowell. Under the statute, the licensing authority is the city of Lowell. There is nothing under the statute or in the law for joint licensing. The Commonwealth has vested this commission with the ability to issue licenses within your jurisdiction. There's nothing in the statutes or the law that say you must consult with what a neighboring town does or wants, or cede your authority to a neighboring licensing commission, though everything is certainly within the discretion of the commission. But this is a convenience store. This is, and again, it's within your discretion, but to my knowledge and based on my research, there's no such policy against this by the city of Lowell, by the city manager, by the city council, by the chief of police, or anything like that within the boundaries of Lowell. And that's where we are, is in the city of Lowell. So I would respectfully suggest that regarding need, this is, and Mr. Hausler would have us say, send the customers over to my client across the street. Well, across the street, this is a situation that people are stopping for gasoline. It is a small convenience store. People come in and they come out. The suggestion that they shouldn't be selling anything in terms of other items other than what, it's a variety in small quantities of things that are sold in the store. Just as I suggest Drum Hill sells chips and soda and gum and cigarettes and all of the items that are sold in my client's convenience mart in the city of Lowell. So to suggest that the inventory should not be sold in any other location, look, I think we understand that, you know, from Drum Hill Liquor's point of view, and a liquor store a half a mile away, they don't want anybody else opening up. But this is not a situation that is going to be taking business from anybody. It's a matter of convenience. It's in terms of need, people stopping, going in, getting back out into their car and leaving. It is not going to increase traffic in the vicinity. Cars are there for gasoline. It is not going to be an issue. And by the way, as far as licensing and the cigarettes that are sold there, they have to properly card individuals to determine that they're age appropriate for buying cigarettes, which is done. Again, there's not been any violation or failure to do so by my client. Regarding the process and policies and procedures, Mr. El-Khoury is here to answer any questions if the commission so has for him. But the other area of inquiry is whether or not he is fit. Getting to the issue of what is in the discretion, I would suggest that we have provided the commission with what is required under the statute. We've provided an appropriately completed application with the appropriate corporate information, the Corey forms, which I would submit, determine whether or not my client has any criminal record, and he does not. His articles of organization, his lease agreement, his DBA certificate. And those are the requirements under the statute, all that my client is required in order to get his petition before this commission, and he has done that. Now, regarding whether there's a public need, as I've explained to you, the circumstances, the reason for that, his request before you. People coming in and out, it's pretty self-explanatory. getting beer and wine. To suggest that he's going to expand or go to a full package stores, quite frankly, there's no basis for that suggestion whatsoever. I didn't come here with a crystal ball. I don't think anybody else came here with a crystal ball, but I can tell you as counsel for Mr. El-Khoury, there's no plan. The plan is to ask this commission to grant his application because I would submit that he has met all of the requirements. All of the issues that Attorney Hauser has suggested are burdens. Quite frankly, he's talking about the discretion that is vested in each of you as the licensing authority for the city of Lowell. It would be, in my experience, unheard of for the city of Lowell to say, we don't know what to do, let's ask Chelmsford. That's not to say that there isn't a cooperative spirit in here between the city and Chelmsford, but the example given that if underage sale happened at my client's establishment and the individual came out and turned and went down the road into Chelmsford, that would create a nightmare is ridiculous, quite frankly. It's no different than if an underage sale was done, as Mr. Hauser has put, across the street at Drum Hill, and that individual came out and at the light turned right and went over the line into the city of Lowell and an arrest was made. How is that any different? I mean, it is no different. It is no different whatsoever. The real issue is in terms of who's requesting it. I submit that we've supported the record that Mr. El-Khoury is fit, that he is an appropriate person to hold that license. Is there a need? I suggest to you that for the convenience of either beer or wine, when someone is in the convenience store picking up other small articles, it's not a grocery store, it is a convenience store, that there is a need and convenience for the public. I'd suggest to you that there is no public safety hazard or issue that has been presented, despite suggestions to the contrary by Mr. Hauser. But when you look at the facts, there have been no facts submitted whatsoever that this is a public safety issue or concern. What it is a competitor or someone who deems competition that doesn't want competition. And I would also say that that is an unfair, first of all, it's a criteria that is beyond the scope or in terms of a consideration, but in reality, this convenience store is not going to be a competitor of Drum Hill Liquors, even though that's not a standard to consider. But quite frankly, Drum Hill Liquors is a large, full-fledged liquor store with a full liquor license, selling various and sundry things. This is a very small convenience market and is in no way something that's going to harm the business. And I just put that out there, even though that's not a standard or consideration. I'm happy to answer questions or have Mr. El-Khoury address any of your concerns.
Who's going to police it?
Police it in terms of carding people in...
Who's going to police it in terms of police? The Chelmsford Police make all the response to the business if there's a problem. But he's holding a low liquor license. Who's going to do the sting operation? Who's going to be responsible to make sure that they, every once in a while they get tested and somebody's out there watching them?
Well, let me just say, as far as response, if there's a problem, if there's a crime in progress, I don't know what when you're saying police, I don't know what you're referring to. So, for instance, there's any myriad of things. There could be an assault and battery. There could be
but I'm not worried about that. Assault and battery.
But those are the types of crimes.
I'm concerned about who is going to police it. Chelmsford's going to say it's a low license. Let them go. Let them sting it every once in a while to see if they're staying on track.
I believe the law actually requires
that... The city of Lowell holds the license. The city of Lowell is going to be the one that polices.
If you're talking about oversight and enforcement in terms of the license and the licensee, that would be the city of Lowell, absolutely, because the city of Lowell is the licensing authority. The city of Lowell would be the one who is charged, and the property is in the city of Lowell. As far as the items referred to by Attorney Hauser, I'd suggest are a red herring. What he was talking about is responding to an emergency call for mutual aid when there is either a crime in progress or that there is a suspicion that there is, and there either is pursuit, and there are a whole bunch of reasons why one police department can go over the line into another. But all of that has nothing to do with the enforceability or the oversight of a license. It really is a red herring. So the types of crimes in progress, and I'm just trying to answer your question, Mr. Chairman, the types of crimes in progress that may result in a call to say, you're closer, are you able to be there? If there was, as I said, an assault and battery, if there was a breaking and entering in progress, if there are these kinds of emergent crimes, I would suggest those are the kinds of things that police departments have, and always having nothing to do with a license or what have you. As far as if a sale was made to a minor and there was an arrest, it's no different than if they cross over to Tewksbury or not. That's right. The town of Chelmsford would make an arrest in that case, would notify the city of Lowell. It would be before the commission if there was a violation or if it was determined. So I think it's a bit of a smokescreen to suggest that this is a nightmare. What it is a situation that the license, and again, the cigarette license has been issued by the city, has been enforced by the city, and the city of Lowell is the logical licensing authority in this case.
Let me ask, is the situation with the policing any different than, say, any of the liquor stores that border on the Lowell and Tewksbury line out near Route 38? You can come out of one of those and cross the city-town line, faster than the person can pick up a phone.
Well, I mean, it's the same, whether it's a minor in possession or a minor or who has bought liquor. The fact that they're mobile and out and about, where they're arrested, has always been the determination, that's the arresting authority, and they will be prosecuted where they're arrested. The licensing, however, doesn't shift. It remains with the issuing authority, and that would be the city of Lowell. So it would come back to the city of Lowell if there was such an incident. So I don't know how else I can answer it other than that. It would not be a situation because it was near Chelmsford that the town of Chelmsford would somehow step in and take control over the license issued by the city of Lowell. There's just absolutely no support, precedent, or legal authority for so doing that.
I agree with you that there's no legal authority for the town of Chelmsford to exercise control over a Lowell license, the same way Lowell wouldn't, say, go to the liquor store near the stadium in Tewksbury and start exercising control of that just because it borders on Lowell. So I agree with you on that.
I'm just thinking out loud here. In terms of the cigarette license, we said that the city has it. Gas pumps, I believe they're licensed by the city. State. Are they state?
Yep.
Well, there.
Storage of
flammable
flammable liquids it's not licensed, but there's approval that is required through the city.
So so does each gas pump have to be approved?
No.
So are the pumps that are in Chelmsford, are they approved by the city of Lowell because the address is a Lowell address? Or because some of the pumps are in Lowell and some are in Chelmsford, correct? Yeah?
Here, why don't you take the microphone?
I'm Richard Alcori from the Drumhill Gulf. Basically, the license is a state license, as they said, for the tanks, for the gasoline, for the...
That's all, I wasn't sure. And then the other question I had for Mr. Alcori is,
Yes, sir.
I noticed on your application, it said that you had previously maintained a license?
Yes.
Okay, and where was that?
I currently have another license in Danvers, Mass.
Okay, and have you ever been in violation of that license?
No, not in Danvers, sir.
And have you held licenses in other locations?
I had one about 6 years ago, and we had one violation where one of the attendants sold to an out-of-state fake ID.
And if this license was approved,
Yes.
would you require all your employees to undergo some sort of training, whether it's being tip certified? Or
Absolutely, that's a state requirement, I think.
were you planning, it's not a state requirement, but were you planning on having any identification scanner?
Yes.
You were, okay.
If anybody has any other questions, we're happy to answer.
It's just, you know, it's a unique situation. And I look at the drawing here. Did you do this drawing?
Yes, I did.
Okay. And it looks like you're gonna replace pretty much the whole back wall with beer coolers.
Well, there's coolers there already. Right? There's
Yeah,
coolers
but
there
there'll be
already,
beer coolers,
correct?
yeah.
Yes.
So, I guess the way this looks,
Well, in Chelmsford.
my office is there, so I go in there frequently. The coolers are in the back of the store.
The walk-in cooler.
Right. It looks to me like the beer is gonna be in the 4 coolers to the left.
Correct.
Is that in Lowell or in Chelmsford?
I think the whole building is in
The
Lowell.
whole building itself is in.
Only
it's-
3 pumps on one side.
It's
is in
just,
Chelmsford.
we have a picture, and it's tough, because I know there's an overhang over the pumps,
Yes.
and they have the town line right here, but it's difficult to tell where the building begins.
No, the whole,
But
the entire building is in Lowell.
The entire building
3
is in Lowell.
pumps are in Chelmsford, the other 3 pumps are in Lowell.
I think I know where the issue's coming up, so why don't we just address it? Do you need a license to store alcohol in the city of Lowell, or do you need a license to sell alcohol in the city of Lowell?
So,
Okay, so do we need a license to store it in Chelmsford or to sell it in Chelmsford? I'm gonna go with, the answer should be the same, sell. If the sale's gonna take place in Lowell or Chelmsford?
In Lowell.
Okay. So then.
It's a good way of simplifying.
Yeah, that's why I kind of am firmly of the belief that it falls within Lowell's and only Lowell's jurisdiction to grant a license to sell alcoholic beverages within the city of Lowell. I don't care where you store them. You know,
Well,
I'm pretty sure there are places that have off-site storage.
I definitely think Attorney Hausler earned his money today with a very logical and well-thought-out objection. In terms of the way I feel, you know, Chelmsford may have a restrictive policy against granting beer and wine licenses to convenience stores. In Lowell, we had that for a long time, and maybe it's the new blood that has been on this commission, but since Ray and I have been appointed, the Commonwealth allows the city of Lowell to grant 22 beer and wine licenses. Right now, I think we're at 12 or 13. So the Commonwealth feels that there's a need.
the Commonwealth of Massachusetts doesn't care about these people, okay? The Commonwealth of Massachusetts worries about the taxes and the money they can make from these people.
Well, they
Our
also worry
job
about
is to worry
enforcing
about
the
the
laws.
people. Our concern has to be the people.
I agree.
And if you had a level playing field, I have no problem whatsoever. But you're giving these people a competitive edge.
But Commissioner Bayless, I understand your argument, but just last week, we had
I know.
someone come in and you voted for it. So I know that that's your argument, but,
You keep beating me down.
but last week you voted for it, so
And I'm going to join with, you know, the competitive edge argument is a red herring, and it's also a lie that is perpetuated by some people, because there's nothing that says the holder of an all-alcohol package store license, which can sell not just beer and wine, but distilled spirits as well, there's nothing that prohibits them from selling convenience items. There's nothing that prohibits them from being open and selling convenience items during any period of alcohol sales suspension. A all-alcohol package store license that sells gum can, upon suspension, stay open and sell gum. They can stay open and sell soda. They can stay open and sell potato chips. They choose to close because of a profit determination. All right, there's nothing that prohibits them from selling other items. If they're licensed, they can sell fresh foods if they wanted. If they wanted to get a victualer's license, they could sell sandwiches. There's nothing that prohibits this. Now, to say that because we've chosen to put all of our eggs in one basket, we are at a disadvantage, well, that's a self-inflicted injury, and I'm not in favor of rewarding self-inflicted injuries. I wouldn't say a soldier who shoots himself in the foot should be given a Purple Heart and sent home. I'm not going to say that a business that shoots itself in the foot should be given special consideration and not allow other people to compete against them. That's kind of where I come from when I get that red herring argument thrown out there.
Mr. Commissioners, if I may add one response to the statements that have been made. My client points out to me that Mr. Al-Khoury identified that he had unfortunately one incident where there was a sale and it was based on an out-of-state license type of identification.
That was the statement, yes.
And in fact, you're not allowed to rely on out-of-state licenses. 6 years ago, 10 years ago, today. And I guess,
Actually,
excuse me.
you need to reread the law.
Excuse-
The law permits you to rely on them at your own peril. It says that it is an absolute defense if you rely on a Massachusetts ID, but there is no law that prohibits the use of an out-of-state ID.
It proves the point that familiarity with
See, but
procedures and policies do matter, or should matter.
I agree, and I agree
Thank you.
that
That's all I was gonna point
any
out.
liquor store is gonna make that argument, but from the time we have sat up here, I've been here for 2 years, Ray longer, and Commissioner Bayless for much longer. That's the argument that's always made. And if you look at the stings that have taken place in the city of Lowell, the liquor stores are the ones that get caught, and the convenience stores don't. The convenience stores are the ones, they know they have something good that they're selling in their store, and they don't want to lose it, so they're vigilant. At least that's been the history since these licenses have been granted. Am I wrong on that?
You're right.
No. And
I
that
have
is
one
the
question that, before we take a vote, I have just one thing that we have argued this issue so many times amongst us. I'm sure any of you that have, watched any of the licensing meetings, we all have a different way of looking at it, and maybe that's good. I'm just curious, as he leases the land, I think I asked you that question, Counselor. He leases the land. Is there a provision in the lease where he's going to be allowed to, or was there, I don't know, is there something in there that says he can sell?
Yeah, let me address that. He leases the land
Please.
from Cumberland Farms. They are aware of this application. In fact, even though they're not in a butter, but I did give certified notice to them. We've been in conversations with them, so they're aware of it. They know he's applying for it. They do not share in profit of the sales. That was one question that we wanted to address.
And they object to it?
They do not object to it. No, they do not
they don't.
object to it. And I'll fish out the certified, but I've been in touch
that's okay. I'll take your
with their
word.
law department, and so they're fully aware of this application.
Okay.
May I ask a question through the commission to the applicant?
Sure.
Sure.
Thank you. Through the commission to the applicant, how many hours per week is the applicant expecting to be on premises supervising and managing his license?
Form A.
Form
Second page.
At least 6 hours daily.
I'll show you.
Are you?
6 hours? Sorry.
This is your.
Stanley, thank you. Thank you.
Well, it comes down to the same thing as I told the folks with the one-day license. If this is granted, this is your license. So no, if you're home or away on vacation, and I'm sure that Councilor Donahue was going to explain all of this to you, but, we just want to reiterate, you are responsible no matter what. No matter what.
What was your answer to the amount of time?
It's at 6 hours.
6
daily.
hours daily?
Yeah.
A day? 5 days a week?
Saturdays, I'm also there too.
Your application says 18 hours a week. That's fine. No, yours is more. I just didn't hear you.
What is it? Is it 6 or 8?
So you're saying it's gonna be 36 hours a week?
Did you want to,
Actually, Saturday, I'm there for like 3-4 hours. I'm not there 6 hours.
So it's 30
but
hours a
it's-
week.
Yeah.
if I may just interject one thing.
Yeah.
With respect to Mr. Al-Khoury. Mr. Al-Khoury, your application on Form A states 18 hours for the week.
Okay,
You might want to address
I
that
can, sure.
and
We'll
file
let
an
him amend it.
amendment.
We'll let him amend it.
Mr. Chairman, I just have the certified notice to Cumberland Farms, if you want that, just so the record's complete. That's the landlord,
Oh,
so, just so that they were notified.
you want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the license.
Motion to approve.
I'll second the motion.
Motion to approve and second it. All in favor, say yes.
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 Yep.
But Mr. Alcori, I just remind you that obviously the town of Chelmsford has an issue with this, so I would just be careful, and like Commissioner Bayless said, the police are out, and you know, because you own the building, the police are always right there, so they're gonna have, you know, they're gonna watch you like a hawk, so you gotta be very vigilant here.
You're all set.
Thank you for your time.
Is that mine or yours?
Yeah, that's yours. Good job.
Just under the Secretary's report, Sangria's is apparently closed for business at this moment in time, as my understanding. I tried to get in touch with Mr. Doyle, who's the owner. Sangria's being a restaurant licensee at 177, 179 Central Street. Has been closed since December 31st for the purpose of renovations. Had paid the license fee for the 2010 calendar year. It is my understanding that the Office of Inspectional Services and the Lowell Fire Department are well aware of the closed restaurant, and that when and if Mr. Doyle should open, he would need to present to the Office of the License Commission a copy of his certificate of inspection, which would be issued by the Office of Inspectional Services, signed by the Fire Chief and the Commission of Inspectional Services. So if there's any concern on the part of the License Commission, or for the matter, the Lowell Police Department, if he is open for business at this point in time, he is in violation.
I
And
can say that as of last night, it was boarded up, closed, and says under doing renovations written right on the front door.
so
Well,
Commissioner
it's a good thing we
Weicker,
got somebody singing
for the
on
record, has confirmed that it is closed.
As of last night, yes.
I believe Attorney Flood has something.
Yes.
I was hoping that I could have a suspension of the rules. A situation has come up, and I've spoken to Ryan about it. It has to do with the Satin dealership on Roger Street. As you probably know, they're not making Satins anymore, and Mr. Lannon does not have any more cars to sell. So he has now, and I received it today, received a letter from Mazda approving him as a Mazda dealer. So I was hoping that if I could file this today, I think I've got everything here, that I could get an approval or a conditional approval of the license if there's something else you need, because now he can't get any cars without a new license. And he'd be out of, your next meeting is until February 11th, and he's out of business for at least 3 weeks and maybe a month. So that's what I was hoping, if you would take the application now, and if Ryan could look at it, make sure I have everything in there, and hopefully act on it. It's only because the immediacy of the situation.
This is just a change in corporation.
Change of corporation.
Saturn dealership to a Mazda dealership, same principles involved?
Same principle, Stephen Lannon. Yeah, he's got the Chevy dealership and the Mazda dealership.
Make a motion to approve, to accept and approve the license upon review by Mr. Nguyen.
Second. All in favor, say yes.
Yes.
Thank you.
Don't want
Did
them
we
shut
get-
for a month, do you? Don't want them shut down for a month.
No. Did we get any correspondence from the law department as far as the,
No, Commissioner Bayless.
And I spoke to the law department yesterday in just addressing some of these, an issue that I had, and he said he would be getting that to us by next meeting.
okay? And we got 2 complaints. Make a motion to bring them into the next, what would be the next meeting, Ryan?
February
February
11th.
11th.
The 11th?
They're both involve C-Spot?
I know
no.
Commission has had no opportunity to review those complaints. I didn't receive them in the office till late this morning. I only was able to, as you may have had an opportunity to look at your email, I know Commissioner Bayless is in the, works out of the 19th century, so...
So you had to send them to him by carrier
Well,
pigeon?
the
and
pony is still out front.
Shortage of those in the
waiting
US?
to-
Horse to show up, Benjamin likes horses.
We need a rider for the pony to ride up to Highlands.
I think we sent him a notice telling him that, you know,
Slot these
for the
matters.
hearing and for the rollback and suspension of license.
So they should get their 14-day notice as well as,
So make sure they get their notice.
Okay, may I just, since you want to go forward with those complaints right now, at least take action on setting a hearing date. One of the two complaints, the first of the two, if we can, is dated, the letter from the superintendent is dated January 20th, has to do with the fact that, this is in reference to Mr. Seaspot, which is at 171 Lakeview Avenue. The matter is that there were several patrons who were acting up, were apparently, would give the appearance that they may have been intoxicated, but the nature of the complaint is that the fact that there was a disturbance and that the two employees noted in the police report were not, did not contact the Lowell Police Department of that. And it was just by chance, I guess, that the Lowell Police heard, or some police officer who wrote up the report had witnessed the, some type of commotion out front of the establishment. So in that notice of hearing for that particular complaint, would you want that the commission would consider the hours of an earlier closing for that specific one?
Well,
I would say that as a matter of like general practice, whenever we send it out,
Yep.
I would like to always have that option of either suspension, revocation, or rollback.
Especially when you consider the last letter that we had, when the Alcoholic Beverage Commission in Boston does not consider our rollback of hours as a penalty. They said that those things didn't count because they couldn't.
Oh, I understand.
So I'm saying,
no,
let's forget the rollbacks.
No, Mr. Commissioner, I understand perfectly what you're saying. I understand what the ABC had said. I'm just want to get that point
Okay,
across
that's
for
why-
that particular complaint, because the second complaint, which is signed by the superintendent of police and it's dated January 21st, addresses the issue that there was definitely activity on the premises after
Hours.
legal closing, according to the complaint, and that certainly I would assume that that would include that notice of 14 days of that. Okay, so in that regard. Okay, so I just want to make, because there are going to be two separate letters going out to
Right.
the licensee.
Well, if we could, Jack, what, in the complaint dated the 21st, under the summary, it says that it should be noted there were 29 incidents of the police, but only 3 police responses. That doesn't seem, I mean, if the neighbors are, and I know the police, you gotta have, gotta set up something where, 1, 2, 3 strikes, you're out, you're in before the commission, because obviously these 29 incidents must be like phone calls, the neighbors.
I haven't had a chance to research that yet. That was cited by the patrol officer who wrote the report.
Okay.
That may be accurate, but I don't know what he's basing that on, so I'm not prepared to answer
Okay,
that
check it out
question.
for us and let us
I
know,
will.
please.
Yeah.
Okay? Because I know that, in the past, and one of the things being that, sometimes you give these guys a break, which, I know that people do, and they should. Guy makes a mistake, you say, hey, I'm sorry, I won't do it, But then all of a sudden you get, the next time, it's like, they really don't care. It's like being in the military saying to somebody, would you please do this? They kind of look at you like you're weird.
Well, it
But if
came as
you-
a surprise to me too, because if I had been informed of 29 incidents over the past year, you would have known about it.
Okay. I kind of figured that, but I thought maybe.
They've been in here.
Yes,
not
they
too
have.
long ago,
Yeah.
so-
But 29, I mean, they're sitting there saying, they haven't got the nerve to do anything. The worst part about it, some policeman's going to get hurt, and that's,
Sometimes what might happen is the officers might get a call to respond there, and they go and handle whatever situation comes up, but they don't file a written report on the matter. And if
yeah, but
they don't
that's
file a
like going
report-
home and saying to your father, the nun hit me,
Right.
right? And he'd whack you upside the head, and you say, but Dad, I didn't do anything. He So you must have done something for her to come over and hit you. You attracted attention.
Well, shame on whoever went home and told on themselves.
Anything else?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn, seconded?
Second.
All in favor, say yes.
Yes.
Yes. Coming home, Benjamin.